So I was like, cool, you've got it. So please, put your hands together for Rebecca Davis, everybody.
I'm just going to make sure my video is still rolling. I have to prove to my mom that I do talk about her to people. All right. There will be visual assistance in a little bit of the story. So to tell you the story about my mom, I need to tell you about her so that you understand the story. So I'm going to tell you a few mini stories before I get to the main story. One of the earliest memories of my mother was, I think I was probably 4 or 5, and she and my dad had taken me to the circus. And I was sitting there probably watching lions or elephants or something, and my mom taps me on the shoulder and she goes, Rebecca, my bone is sticking out. And I'm like 4 or 5 years old, right? So I turn out and there's like something sticking out right here, and it's underneath her shirt. So I'm like, oh my God, my mom's gonna die. Like, this is it. I'm gonna be an orphan. Like, I'm freaking out because I'm 4 or 5 years old. Nowadays, I know that there is a thing in women's clothing called bras with underwires. So I know what was actually sticking out of her shirt. So she started me at a very early age with, I guess, my education of her in the world. She would do things like on the weekend to wake me up. You know, most moms come in and yell or something. My mom turns the stereo system in the house on as loud as she can, playing Phantom of the Opera, and walks into my room with a pair of white underwear hanging half over her face, singing to me. This is my mom. This is my mom. But she did want to be cool. She tried so very hard to be cool around my friends. And I'm from the South. I'm from South Carolina. And we have a saying, I'm sure a lot of people know. Do you know what BFE means? Have you ever heard of BFE? Okay, I'm going to say a bad word. I'm warning you. Bumfuck Egypt. Oh. And we use that to mean the middle of nowhere. Like, I've been in the middle of nowhere. I've been to bumfuck Egypt. So my mom thinks she's going to be cool, you know, with the teenagers in the house. So she decides, all right, I'm gonna use that term. I just learned it. You know, parents get really excited when they learn a new hip, groovy term. So she's like, I'm gonna use it, but I can't say bad words in front of my daughter and her friends. So I need to censor it a little bit. So she comes into the house and she's complaining about how far she had to drive that day. She's like, man, I've been to bumfuck Africa. She changed the wrong word. Which my friends thought was even cooler, like my 2 friends sitting there, wow, your mom says fucking? That's awesome. She would also do things to me in public, like she made it, you talk about embarrassing, like the things your mother did to embarrass you. I have more instances than I can mention in 10 minutes. But I'm going to give you one. Has everyone or anyone in here seen the movie Independence Day? Yep. Classic, right? So the scene where Bill Pullman, the president, is out with the troops and he's giving his like really motivational speech. This is a full theater because the movie had just come out. And he's giving this really empowering speech, and my mother decides in the middle of the movie theater to stand up and put her hand over her heart. And she just stands there. And I'm sitting beside her like, I start grabbing her, please just sit back down. Please sit down. But I have her to thank because now like nothing embarrasses me anymore. Nothing at all. The other thing about my mom is that she's really proud of her yard. Like, it's a big deal in the South. You've got a lot of yard, you've got a lot of space. So she likes her flowers, she likes her plants. There was one small tree next to the driveway that died one time. time. And so she spent the next year, every time she would drive home, bashing it a couple of times with the front of her car, trying to knock it down. Finally, after a year of this, the tree came down, and there were like these perfect little indentions in the front bumper of her car where she had just been doing this over like every time, every day. Coming home from work, just gotta hit the tree a couple of times and then park. So she likes to keep her yard nice. She likes to keep it nice, but having an acre, a house on an acre, pretty big space, and the backyard sometimes would go to ruin because nobody's looking at the backyard. The neighbors are looking at the front yard, right? So that's what they're judging you on, the front yard, not the backyard. So our lawnmower broke one time, and even though we kind of got a neighbor to help us cut the front yard, she decided she could let the backyard go a little bit. So by the time she finally got the lawnmower to a repairman, the grass was up to about here in the backyard. And in the South, in America in general, but especially in the South, we have a ton of these animals called possums.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where the visual aids come in. If you're from Australia, you think possums are cute. They're like cute, they got big ears. That's Australian possum, right? This is North American possum. Still not terribly uncute until you realize that they hiss at you.
Yeah, that's so scary.
Like this. Right? Not something you want to run into. And this, like. So, they are actually rodents of unusual size, RUSs. So, in South Carolina, I'm from the mountain part, and we have possums everywhere. So if you leave your trash on your porch, a possum will come get into it. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. So I was in about 7th grade, and I was on the softball team. So I was good at aiming. And my mom, she comes in the middle of the night. I remember it was 1 a.m. It was 1 a.m. on a school night. She goes, "Rebecca, there's a possum on the back porch. I've been trying to throw cans of food at it to knock it off, but my aim isn't good. I need your help." It's 1 a.m, and I just woke up. It's the most bizarre thing ever. So I get up, and I go look at the door. It's like a 2nd-story back porch. And sure enough, there's this possum on the railing of the porch. And it's just sitting there, and it's hissing, because she's been throwing cans at it already. So she's like, "You just stand right there. Don't get close to it. Don't get close to it, because it might have rabies or something. Like, don't get close to this possum." So she goes back and forth between the pantry in the kitchen and the back door and starts handing me cans of food. Every time I beam this poor animal, every single time, like time after time, I'm hitting it with these cans of food, which are flying off the porch into the deep grass below, just disappearing. Cans of food just disappearing. So this poor possum is like kind of on the edge. He's still trying to hold on. He's hissing at me. He's not moving because possums are stupid. And they don't know, maybe if I leave, this will stop happening to me. So he's just standing there. And finally, she runs out of small cans. And she hands me a cantaloupe. So I throw the cantaloupe at the possum. This story is absolutely true. I threw the cantaloupe at the possum. The possum kind of hangs off the edge. And then she hands me one of the extra large cans of tomatoes. And that's what finally does it. The possum falls off the porch. It's a 2nd floor, but possums are also indestructible. So it paused for a second and then ran off into the woods. So cool. We got rid of the possum. Since then, I've learned the fine art of broom possum golf. So it's a much more effective way to just get the possum off the porch. But at the time, my mom was scared to let me near this possum. So maybe a week later, the lawnmower repairman comes back with the lawnmower. And I'm from a very small town, like everybody knows everybody else. So my mom, who was a teacher, she's retired now, actually had taught this son of the dad who owned, it was a family business, Lawnmower repair. So he decides, oh, I like Miss Davis, I like her a lot. I'm gonna just do her a solid and I'm gonna cut this backyard for her. So this is during the day, I'm at school, she's at school. And we come home after school and we look, oh, look, backyard is cut. That was so nice of him. Except, every once in a while, there was a tuft of high grass, like one little patch, and another little patch, and another little patch. And we walked over to them, and inside every tuft was a can of food. The man did not move those cans. He left them exactly where they were. So my mom calls them up and, thanks them so much for fixing the lawnmower and cutting the grass. And she goes, I bet you're wondering about the cans of food that were in the yard. And he's like, well, I just wasn't sure about it, so I just decided I should probably just leave them there. And my mom says, I plant that garden every year and nothing ever grows. Thank you very much.